You are surrounded by miracles you've stopped noticing. The screen you're staring at right now contains billions of microscopic switches. Billions. Each one smaller than a virus. Each one flipping on and off billions of times every second. And somehow, this impossible object sits casually on your desk, and you've never once asked how it got there. So, let me ask you something. How did we do this? How did a species that started by smashing rocks together end up building machines that can think? Because that's what happened. That's the actual story. And once you see the whole chain, you will never look at your computer the same way. It begins 2.5 million years ago. Picture it, Africa. A creature that looks almost human, but not quite, is holding a rock. It brings it down hard against other stone, a flake chips off, and the edge is sharp. That's it. That's the moment. It doesn't look like much, but something just happened that had never happened on this planet before. A living thing look at the world and change it on purpose. Not with teeth, not with claws, with an idea. And there's the part nobody tells you. After that breakthrough, almost nothing happened. For 2 million years. Generation after generation, for 2 million years, our ancestors made the same sharp rocks. Imagine 100,000 generations being born, living and dying, all in the same way. So, what broke the pattern? Fire. The moment we discovered fire, everything accelerated, and not for the reason you think. Yes, fire gave us warmth. Yes, it scared away predators. But its real gift was stranger. Fire cooked our food. And cooked food is easier to digest, which means more energy. And our hungry growing brains drank it up. Some scientists believe fire didn't just feed us, it rebuilt us. We shaped fire, and fire shaped the brain you are using to watch this video. A bigger brain started asking bigger questions, and about 12,000 years ago, somewhere in the Middle East, one of those brains had an idea that sounded almost lazy. What if, instead of chasing our food, we just made it come to us? Seeds went into the ground, and the humans stayed waiting, watching, and hoping. That decision, to stay, changed our species forever. Because when you stop wandering, you build. Villages, then towns, then the first cities the world had ever seen. For the first time, thousands of strangers were living side by side, trading, storing grain, owning each other things. And that created a problem no creature had ever faced. There was suddenly too much to remember. Who owns that field? Who paid? How many sacks of grain are sitting in the warehouse? The human brain, this magnificent machine, simply couldn't hold it all. So in Mesopotamia, 5,000 years ago, someone pressed a reed into wet clay and made a mark. Then another, then another. This is how writing was invented. And here's the detail I love. We didn't invent writing for poetry, not for prayers, not for love letters. The oldest written documents in human history are receipts, accounting. We learn to write because we need to count sheep and grain. But think about what writing really is. For the first time ever, a thought could outlive the person who had it. Knowledge stopped dying. It started stacking. Every generation could now stand on top of everything the last one knew. Do you see what's happening? Stone gave us tools, fire gave us brains, farming gave us cities, cities gave us writing. Each invention isn't just an invention, it's a key that unlocks the next door. And behind the next door was metal. First copper, soft and shiny, then someone mixed it with tin and created bronze. Then we conquered iron, stronger tools, deeper plows, sharper blades. Empires rose on metal and fell by it, and hidden inside those empires something quieter was growing. Gears, levers, and mechanisms. In 1901, divers exploring an ancient shipwreck of a Greek island pulled up a crowded lump of bronze. 2000 years ago, someone was already trying to build a thinking machine. But ideas like that stayed trapped, locked inside a few brilliant minds, in a world where books were copied by hand and a single volume could cost a year's wages. Knowledge existed, but it couldn't spread. Until a German goldsmith changed everything. Around 1450, Johannes Gutenberg built a machine that could press ink onto paper, page after page, page after page after page. Before Gutenberg, Europe produced a few thousand books per year. Within decades, millions. Ideas became unstoppable. Science exploded, and when enough ideas collide in enough minds, revolutions happen. For all of human history, if you wanted to move something heavy, you had three options: muscle, wind, or water. That was it. Every pyramid, every cathedral, every ship, built by those three forces alone. Then, around 1700, in England, we found steam. Suddenly, there were machines that never slept, never tired, never complained. Factories rose out of farmland. Trains tore across countries and speeds no human had ever experienced. In a single century, the world changed more than in the previous thousands years. And then, we caught lighting itself. Electricity turned night into day. The telegraph took a message that once sent months crossing the ocean and delivered it in minutes. Then, the telephone carried a human voice across a continent. Stop and feel that weight of that. For 2 million years, information moved at the speed of walking feet. Now, it moved at the speed of light. There was only one frontier left. We had machines that could move, machines that could speak across oceans, but could we build a machine that could think? The first attempts were made of brass and frustration. In the 1830s, a guy named Charles designed a mechanical computer, a forest of gears and levers. But a mathematician named Ada studied his design and wrote instructions for it. The world's first computer program, writing for a computer that didn't exist, by a woman who was born 200 years too early. The idea waited a century, then war set it on fire. In World War II, Alan Turing and his team built machines to crack Nazi codes, machines that could process information faster than any human ever could. And in 1945 came ENIAC, 30 tons of metal, 18,000 glowing vacuum tubes, a computer that filled an entire room, with less power than the calculator in your kitchen drawer. It seemed like computers would forever be the size of buildings. Then, in 1947, three scientists at Bell Labs created something so small it almost seems like a joke. The transistor, a tiny switch with no moving parts, on, off, 1, and 0. That's all it does. But here's the trick, we learned to make them smaller, then unbelievably smaller. The first computer chips held a few thousand. Today, the processor in your machine holds 10 of billions, in a space the size of your fingernail. And, in the 1970s, in an ordinary garage in California, a couple of young dreamers asked the questions that change your life before you are born. What if a computer wasn't for governments and corporations? What if it was for you? This is how the personal computer was born. Then, the internet came, connecting them all into a single web of human knowledge. Then, the whole thing shrank into your pocket. So, look at your computer. Really, look at it. Inside that machine is the sharp edge of the first stone tool, the warmth of the first fire, the patience of the first farmer, the marks on the first clay tablet. Gutenberg's press, Watt's steam, Tesla's current, Lovelace's code, Turing's genius, thousands of years, billions of people, most of them forgotten. But their ideas are still alive, humming inside your machine right now. We are the species that turned rocks into thought. And here's the question that should keep you up tonight. If we went from stones to this, what are we two inventions away from? Somewhere, right now, someone is building the next link in the chain. Maybe it's you.